Before we begin, thank you very much to Bohanians for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for the support. I do appreciate everyone who pitches in, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just a buck or two a month. That does help me keep going. It helps me keep the daily content coming. If you appreciate having something new in your subscription from me every single day, please consider contributing to the Patreon. It is literally what keeps me able to do this. So thank you very much. Now, I had completely different plans today, and then the day popped off. So if I'm going to have a news video on Monday, we need to thin the pile because, oh my god, the stuff that has been dropping today. So if you don't know, Cybertron Con is officially underway overseas in China. If you're wondering about the exclusives for that, turns out most of them are nothing. They're just exclusive packaging. They're just reissues. But the real meat of it, because that's all we've been talking about from Cybertron Con is, oh hey, big exclusives. Turned out to be nothing burgers. However, they've been dumping so much info to go along with the launch of that convention. We've got to sit and talk about it, okay? We have a lot. And it's going to start with the artwork for the entire first wave of Age of the Primes, which is an absurd thing to say. So while these aren't looks at the toys themselves, this is going to give us a really good impression of what the toys are actually going to be like, what they're going to amount to. So it's a good, it's a good way of getting us started, before we get into the real meat of it. So we're going to start from the bottom, top. Now remember, core class is done. So we are starting off with the deluxe, and that starts with Slingshot, our first of the aerial bots. He does look spot on. Gold face, gold head, the bald head's the only it's hard for me to remember aerial bots, because frankly, they're just too similar and not enough have actual character presentation from the cartoon and old media. But Slingshot I remember thanks to his gold dome head. And he's looking really, really good in this artwork. He's got dual blasters here. You can get a little bit of an idea of how the articulation works from him. You can see that hinge in the torso, which means he's going to have those weird arms that I don't like, which is going up in this direction and then swiveling forward in this direction, in an attempt to give you universal joints, but they feel off. So he's going to have a decent range, but it might be weird. Now keep in mind, there is such a thing as artistic interpretation. Might not necessarily be a thing for this one. But, just so we are aware, it might be a little bit limited. But then again, combiner piece. So he's going to have to be a little bit more solid, kind of with the territory. What else do we got? We do have the jet mode, so we can get a nice look at that. I will admit the jet's looking kind of blocky. Like his jet mode is known for those big intakes on the side, but yeah, that just comes across as his torso with his arms collapsed into it, so it's not the most concrete. Can we see? No, the interesting thing here, I'm trying to figure out where the intakes go. Because, they're not present on his robot mode, around the shoulders where I would expect them to be. Okay, maybe there is something more to the transformation. If this artwork is accurate, I presume because of all the greeble and the actual, division lines that I can see in this, the actual cuts in the toy, I think this is fairly accurate to what it's going to look like. It's not bad. I mean, it's Slingshot. What do you want? How about Air Raid? Now, we don't have vehicle mode of all of these. But again, Air Raid looking fairly solid. Looks about what I expect for an aerial bot. These just look like they're going to shape up to be fairly solid figures. I don't think there's going to be any real surprises to them or how they work. But, cool to see that, they are pretty faithful. Because screen accuracy is something they've been striving for over the last few years. And, yeah, without those gigantic, combiner blocks stuck in the chest of the originals, these are probably going to turn out to look considerably better than the original, than like the Combiner War ones. So I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see that. I'm looking forward to seeing the actual toys, which, guess what, might not be too far off. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, he's just looking solid. So yeah, if we're doing 3 waves a year, that means 2 aerial bots to start us off, and then the 3rd in wave 2, 4th in wave 3. Okay, not bad, not bad. So like, give it like 9 months and you'll be able to put Superion together. Here is one we've been waiting for a long, long time. So when they did a brand new animated Bumblebee, I don't think there was any confusion as to what they would eventually do with it. So this is not a surprise. And in fact, none of these are surprises because we've seen like the computer listing leaks. We knew what Wave 1 was going to be, but just seeing it and confirming it is so nice. Animated Wasp. This boy. The irony to animated Wasp is that he was originally depicted in animated as just kind of like down on his luck, always on the short end of the stick, and that's exactly what happened to his toys. The original release for him was going to be just a repaint Bumblebee, no new head, because apparently at the time, the budget said you could either have a brand new head for the Ironhide toy that's being retooled from Ratchet, or you can have a brand new head for Bumblebee to make him Wasp. Not both, only one or the other. And they opted for Ironhide over Wasp. And I understand that. I understand why. So and then the toy got canceled. We got to see like production photo of it, and then the toy got axed. So unfortunately, so he has had a lot of misfortune, but being a Wave 1 figure, he's going to be very easy to get. Looking really sharp too. He's not technically a Decepticon yet in this one. Like, that doesn't come until after he mutates, so a little bit of an error here, but, you know, Wasp ain't a nice guy in animated, so not a surprise. It does look good. Like, it's very, very long overdue, but it's nice to know that that toy is on its way. Looking really, really nice, too. Like, I'm looking forward to the actual toy pictures. Solus Prime. I kind of wish she wasn't a deluxe. I kind of wish she was a little bit bigger, just because, you know, like, the girls need a little bit more bulk to get a satisfying figure, I think. But you know what? It works. It works. Yep, she's coming with the Forge, which looks absolutely massive. I'm glad to see that. She does have some vehicle kibble on her shoulders. Like, a lot of the 13 so far have really big shoulder armor. I think that's my takeaway so far from the 13 is shoulder armor. And the only one who doesn't so far is the Fallen. You have fallen so far, you are not allowed to have your cool shoulder armor like the rest of us. But she does look really, really nice. It's very classic to her, like, typical depiction of, you know, purples, golds. Looking really, really good. I mean, purple and gold's already just like a great color scheme. You're not going to do wrong on that. What's cool about Solus is we got the vehicle mode artwork of her too, and strangely enough, it's not a vehicle I can easily place. It looks good, don't get me wrong. Like, it's this weird Cybertronian, like, dune buggy armored car kind of thing. Like, I'm not entirely sure what it's going for here. But it's not a bad look. It's definitely unique. Give it that. Give it that in spades. It looks unique. And offhand, I can't really tell. Unless there's artistic liberties taken with that robot mode picture. And I think there might be. Because there really isn't a lot of vehicle bulk showing on that toy. She's either got a big backpack full of stuff. Or she's a little bit thicker than this artwork seems to indicate. Either way, the vehicle mode is very nice and unique. I can't really place down. Like, my brain immediately wants to try and figure out what the retool is, and I can't find it. Like, my brain maybe kind of thinks, like, okay, big grills, center placed windshields, big exposed tires, maybe a laser rod down the line, but that's kind of a stretch. You know, but it would take whatever she's going to be, because you know they got retools and repaints in mind for everybody. they don't release a toy anymore unless they know at least 2 more uses they can get out of a figure. So, yeah, I'm struggling to figure out what it's going to be, which actually makes me more curious about the toy itself. Because now I'm just kind of excited for how it's going to work. It looks good, though. It looks interesting. Speaking of the Voyager class and the Primes, here is our full look at Prima. And I remember, like, someone did the digital render, and they photoshopped the head that we saw. Someone actually saw the underside of the prototype and stuck it on the original headless prototype photos. And then took a guess at the color scheme. Well, they guessed wrong, because we have a dark gray helmet instead of the white. And I think that works a lot better. The oddities to him have always been those round ears on the side of the helmet, because that's very much with the G1 design that was eventually renamed Prima. And again, it's just an interesting mix of, like, the most prominent Prima in fiction, which, yes, that is the G1 from Five Faces of Darkness. Prima's never appeared in any animated or theatrical depiction to date. At least not the traditional Prima. So mixing the two, I actually do like how it looks. I will be honest with you. The Covenant version of Primus that is the artwork that we've seen all over. I'm not really a big fan of how it looks. I'm just not. I'm sorry about that. I kind of like this weird amalgamation. I think this has a little bit more interesting design to it overall. And I like the idea that eventually we can repaint a bunch of these into the Five Faces of Darkness crew. If one of these primes ends up being like the original Sentinel Prime, like that Rhino truck that he turned into, I would die happy getting that toy. I've been waiting so long for that toy. But it also confirms that the toy is going to come with a Matrix of Leadership, because that in fiction, that is the original hilt of the legendary version of the Star Saber. So, yeah, I'm excited for the toy. Now, we have seen the prototype. We do know that he turns into this Cybertronian truck type thing. So, that's typical of a Matrix bearer. But he is looking really, really good. I'm excited for him. Also on the docket for the Voyager class, we have Armada Red Alert, who is looking very, very good. We've seen prototype photos of him as well. And this is where we can kind of see maybe a little bit of the artistic liberty. So one of the elements to that toy that I've noticed is like there is a stem on the front of the shoulder that goes up to hold the door into place. That is not present here. So either those prototypes are misassembled, mistransformed, one or the other, or someone in the art department is messing around with things. And in general, this does seem to be a very gentle version of Red Alert, if anything. The prototype definitely has a bigger chest than this, let's put it that way. So yeah, so we're not going to believe this artwork that we've been taking a look at face value. Assume that there are liberties being taken to, clean them up, make them look a little bit more interesting, or, just to make it work better for the art. But if this is an indication of what the final version of that toy is going to be, it's going to be really, really nice. Like, that is a pretty good looking Red Alert. Very, very cool. We move into the leader class. There's only one, and it's a repaint, but weirdly enough, it's a Studio Series toy, making it into the Generations line. Grimlock in his Generation 2 color scheme. Now, keep in mind, G2 Grimlock really just means the gray is swapped for blue. That really is the only major difference. It does look like they're going to do away with that dark window chest that I hate, so at least we have that. I can imagine they might tweak the other colors to make him a little bit more different than his original depiction. Maybe a little bit more like a vibrant or more muted red, as you can see here in the shorts. Maybe more rich shade of gold. I'm spitballing here. But if you missed out on the mold, this is a great chance to get it again. Or if you're nostalgic for the 90s version of Grimlock, it's a great opportunity to get the mold again in that color scheme. I've already double dipped on this mold in order to get the comic book version, and then this version's on the way. I'm so... There's that weird voice in the back of my head that says, put the blue parts of one onto the blue parts of the other. Make all blue lock. I'll leave it to a customizer to attempt. I think the most interesting thing about this one is Wheelie's back. So that little mini figurine of Wheelie, my assumption has always been that the first two Dinobots came with those minifigures as a way of balancing the budget across all five, because it took them years to get all 5 Dinobots out, and you know the budgets change in that time period. So they save Swoop to last, because he's going to be the smallest no matter, and the simplest to engineer no matter what, and then you bulk out the original 2 with a little bit more figurine, in this case, Wheelie for Grimlock, the exosuit for Slug, just so the next time we do a figure, Sludge and Snarl, if the budget has shrunk, we have already planned for that, and it's not going to affect the toy. And then by the time we get to Swoop, it's going to affect, the budget's going to have shrunk again, but Swoop is naturally smaller. That was how I figured it balancing out. So the fact that Wheelie's back is crazy. The fact that Wheelie is in Generation 2 colors is crazy. Now, by G2 colors, he's technically in his Marvel Comics colors, with the gray helmet and the more yellow colors to his upper body. Irony, he would come with, in Generation 2 colors, but not with the G2 Grimlock didn't have it. Whatever. If they wanted to throw us a real curveball, it'd be the core class, but that'd be asking a little bit too much, I think. I think that's pushing it. But still, it's good. It's great to see him back. It's great to see him in that color scheme. I had him in that color scheme as a kid. So we will see. Maybe if it goes on sale. Because it is going to be a Wave 1 piece. So there's potential for it to end up at clearance. I might pick it up then. Moving up. Silverbolt. He is officially the commander of next year. We pretty much knew that. Even though his listing wasn't shown with all the others, we pretty much knew the only thing they could do with Silverbolt was make him a commander to match up with how they did the Stunticons. How that was going to play out, that's the part we didn't know. And we technically have an answer. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but he is looking good, and he's looking very Silverbolt. Let's be honest here. He's looking very Silverbolt. He is looking like a robot that carries his jet mode on his back, and that's pretty much what Silverbolt gets to be. I think he is showing a little bit more design complexity than he has in the past. You can see where the wings actually fold in a little bit to kind of shore up his silhouette. It looks like the nose cone might have a little bit more collapse to it, akin to Cyclonus. At least that vaguely looks like similar engineering, the way I'm looking at it. Again, makes me curious how the actual figure is going to play out. And the big thing to him, of course, is how do you make him a commander and make him satisfying? Like, what do you do with him as a commander? He doesn't exactly have a trailer to haul around. We might have an answer to that. And then finally, the artwork for Star Convoy, or what I think is going to be called Star Optimus Prime at retail, which is silly. I'm sorry, it should be Battlestar Optimus Prime, so it sounds cooler and plays to like the storyline of the Battlestars. But yeah, like it's recreating the original G1 artwork, which I think is a really good call. It looks really, really sharp. From these photos alone, you can tell, this image alone, you can tell that they have upped the design complexity considerably from the original toy. In the legs in particular, you can see a lot more panels and hinges that the original figure did not have. Now, of course, they have to incorporate a lot more articulation than the original Star Convoy toy had, so no real surprise there. I'm genuinely wondering how much survived. Now, because it's a Titan class, it is going to be considerably smaller as a Titan, and the price is going to reflect that. I think the report was that it's going to be $160 at retail, but I'm curious how much survives. Now, because it's a Titan, it should have the base mode from the original. I don't know if it's still going to have his version of Roller, which is a little tank that pops off the back of his legs. And I don't know if it's going to have the hot rod. I think the rumor was that it was going to include the Micromaster hot rod. I have no idea. I am, again, it's just drives the curiosity, but it looks cool, and it looks like it's going to be a very rich and worthwhile figure. Now, Cybertron Con is showing off a little bit more than that. Like, this is just like public images that they posted digitally. There is stuff being shown at the show floor that we've gotten tiny little peeks of. This, for instance. Now, I don't know if, like, phone camera standards in China are just way lower than they are in the rest of the world. It wouldn't surprise me. But I always, like, in news roundups, when we get leaks from China, I usually describe the camera quality as potato quality. Because it looks like it was photographed with a frickin' potato. But this is mashed potato quality. This is like, we are literally looking at someone taking a photo of somebody else's phone screen, and you can tell how small the phone screen is because his thumb is in the way. But this is from an unaired Hasbro Pulse live stream video showing off Superion and Silverbolt at the same time. There's a few takeaways from that. Number one, it's Hasbro doing what Hasbro needs to do in situations like this. Show us what we're investing in. If you expect us to spend 9 months spending almost $200 total on all of your product for the aerial bots to complete the combiner, show me up front what it's going to look like and what I'm investing in. Especially if you think you've really come up with something good and it's a quality product, show some confidence in it and show it to me all at once. That seems to be what they are doing. Even from this potato quality picture, we can tell that it's using similar framework to Menasor. We see the aerial bots poking through the legs, so you can actually see them from the front, which wouldn't be cartoon accurate on Menasor, but it is cartoon accurate on Superion. You can see that two of the jets on the arms have the same arm trick, where, you know, once they're attached, they can split, and that gives you an elbow for your combiner, while still keeping all the jet bulk where it needs to be. So it's doing a lot of that lifting. Behind Silverbolt, you can see all of that extra combiner framework redone into what looks like some kind of bunker. Like, it looks like some kind of like defensive position, which makes a lot more sense for an Autobot to have. But we see wings on it. There are wings coming off of it, and that's when I look to the side and I see the Silverbolt in vehicle mode, and I think to myself, that looks way, way bulkier than it's supposed to be. See, my thought process to this point was like, the framework for the combiner is going to turn into like a runway, or it's going to be like a launch tower or something. Like, it's going to be, it's going to, like something aerial related, but not like directly connected to the toy, like Motormaster's trailer was. But it looks like I am wrong. It might actually make for like a super Concorde mode in jet mode for Silverbolt, which would be an interesting little twist on that. So instead of just like having a chunk of accessory you just leave off to the side when Silverbolt's in vehicle mode, because keep in mind, he is going to be Voyager size to scale with everybody. He's going to need, there's going to be, and then he's going to be like commander class in vehicle mode with all this combined. Like, it means they've actually come up with some way of just like creating a bigger, badder Silverbolt out of it, which would be really cool. I'm hoping that is correct speculation. Now, because this is being shown right now, it's at Cybertron Con, we are probably a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most away from seeing it ourselves on the next Pulse stream, which isn't announced, but we know it's on the way because the footage has already been taken. The convention just gets to see it first. Also, something they got to see first, they actually, it looks like the same presentation also includes the look at the actual toy of Star Convoy, and it is looking really, really nice. And again, has me curious. I see a hinge in the bellies where that chest might be able to fold down and open up into like the command center inside, but it looks full. It looks like there's a bunch of stuff in there, so they might have expanded it with like extra workstations or added detail. There might be a Matrix annex in there now. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but it's looking really, really good so far. Now, obviously from this, you can't tell the more interesting things. You can't tell how it transforms. You can't tell how big it's actually going to be. I think the big question here is, we know it's a smaller Titan. How big is it really? So we just have to wait and see and find that one out for ourselves. But again, doesn't look like we're going to have to wait long. And then something else dropped today. And because of the writing on it, there is Chinese writing on it. So I assume that it was done, in, to be in the same window Cybertron Con. So I'm going to throw it in here because this is wild, and we're going to do a whole video about this later on. It's true. The rumors were true. It's a Sonic the Hedgehog transformer. This is wild. This is the weirdest crossover they've done yet. Sonic the Hedgehog is not a character I think of when I think I want to see a transformer out of him. But no, like, we had that Sonic Blue, Sonic Red collaboration leak. And it's just, there's no code word to it. It's just straight up Sonic. He turns into one of his, one of his vehicles from, like, the Sonic race games, which is a really cool nod. It doesn't give him his shoes. It's weird to see any Sonic that does not have his shoes. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm also not sure how I feel about human proportion Sonic. That is also very odd. I think the winner here, though, is Tails, because Tails actually turns into the Tornado, which is a far more prominent vehicle than anything from the race games. And he's a biplane, and we've only had one biplane transformer before this, so it's great to get another one, especially because this one will be larger and more satisfying, I feel. And frankly, I think they did a really good job. Sonic seems to be on the basic side of engineering as far as I can tell. Like, the way he transforms seems pretty apparent from looking at him. Tails, I have no idea how that toy works. Like, that just looks like a really dynamic figure, and I'm curious to see what it does. I love the fact, normally I hate when shell kibble is just hanging off the back, but the fact that they're using that kibble to represent his two tails is kind of brilliant. That's genius. I will absolutely credit you for that one. I love the fact he has a power-up bubble, as a weapon as well. That's funny. The ring shield's clever too. Oh, I'm excited. I'm sure, like, by the time we get to Monday and the news roundup, I'm sure official images are going to be shown. We're going to have better looks at all of this, which is why I'm okay doing a whole video of it now, strike while the iron's hot, get my thoughts out there, and then we'll just recap it come Monday so we don't overload the news roundup. But yeah, it's gonna be one of those weeks. This is very exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to it. So, that's gonna be it. That's my thoughts on all the stuff that's dropping and leaking today. Let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite, which one you're looking forward to, because we got a lot to speculate on now. It's getting good. I'm getting hyped for this new line. And for the Sonic things, this is going to be stupid fun. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Analysis complete. Adapting translators to local language.
Are you out there?